calling. And, you know, I mean, obviously, as a professional, we're in sales. A lot of the calls are intentional. First and foremost, your family, your friends, your A1 clients, your A+ prospects. But it's constant, deep, thoughtful, caring calls. That's what I find. That's been the major pivot shift that I find.
Awesome, thank you. Kendra.
Where is everybody?
So Meny, you know, if you ask about mindset, when this first started, I was scared. I was afraid. I didn't want to go outside. I remember my first trip to the grocery store, like, you know, just layered and nervous and anxious. And, you know, over the last, I didn't want to work. I mean, I was good making calls and doing my cards, but I did not want to get out there and interact with people. My feeling about that has changed. You know, I am definitely back out and working. And I, you know, pride myself on being kind or service oriented, but I have no problem saying to my clients, like, hey, stand 6 feet back, you're too close, you know. I said to a client the other day, it was like touching a countertop. I'm like, don't touch that, you know, you can't touch anything. So I feel like I'm pretty okay being strong about trying to enforce these guidelines that feel like they are ever changing. And I find that a little bit frustrating, but I allow myself a moment of just being mad that things change all the time, and then I just move on. I will tell you that early on, something that really helped me was that I accepted that this would, for me, not be a banner real estate year, and I made my peace with it. You know, but that it was going to be, you know, a banner family year. You know, we're doing a lot of good family times and time in the evenings. And I actually heard Gary Keller speak this morning, and he said something that I really liked that I thought I would share with you guys. He said, you know, we're all striving to have an extraordinary career, not just an extraordinary year. And so I'll leave you guys with that.
Nice. Thanks, Kendra. And we'll circle back to you talk about more about Gary Keller and your relationship, and you've been part of the mastermind group as well, just to get some insight. Awesome, thank you. Roger.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate. I'm in a coaching program called By Referral Only, and they did 30 straight days of this morning, 6 to 7 a.m., kind of going through questions and working out your issues. So that was not only was that helpful just spiritually and mentally for me, but it really ingrained this early up habit. So I've been up at 5:30 every morning. And so, you know, taking care of myself has been a big help. But, you know, I am definitely, you know, I go back and forth in terms of my mood. And if I allow myself to watch too much news and stuff, I definitely get sucked into negativity fast. So I just have to work at not doing that and, you know, focusing on what I can control. And, you know, I just put out a new listing yesterday or the day before yesterday, which is a very good price and everything. And it's had more activity than any listing I've ever had in my life. I had 7 showings yesterday, 7 showings today. That is very, you know, normally it's a vacant house, so I would have had a lockdock. So it's a lot more work. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, my brain is going to explode trying to coordinate all these showings within half an hour increments. And, you know, I'm not used to that. So and then I really do not like wearing the mask. It's not a statement thing. It's just uncomfortable for me. It's hot and it's uncomfortable and I don't like it. So, and I get kind of feeling like claustrophobic. So, you know, those are the challenges that I'm dealing with right now. But I am always contacting people and having those good conversations. That's what I do anyway. So that's been really good. So yeah, it's just kind of business is, you know, and I think having experience and being in the business for a long time and hearing about doomsday at least 3 other times in my career. Like when I hear it, it doesn't affect me as much because I do know that business always happens. There's always sales, and so I don't have that fear like I might have in the past.
Yeah, good points, Roger. Thank you. There was one question over here, by the way. How do you sanitize between 7 showings a day? the property.
You know what? I literally took the other thing is, by the way, go and try to find Clorox wipes. Luckily, I've got some OCD in my family. We had a lot of them before this COVID started. So I had I just brought a thing of Clorox wipes, and I went around and I wiped down the handles. And I don't even necessarily believe in it. Because by the way, I don't believe in it. I mean, the CDC just said the whole surface thing, but I'm going to do it out of courtesy and because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to follow the rules.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Roger. Thanks
Mm-hmm.
for sharing. The third of the team, Celik.
Yes. Back to what you said about state of mind. What helps me the most with I generally don't freak out about anything. I'm pretty calm when I address a situation. The more knowledge I have of something, like I like to always fact check, look into things, because the media is going to do what they do. But I like to find out as much as possible about it. Certain things that made me feel good. I went to a listing appointment and the sellers were doctors. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to get decked out. I had the face mask, the gloves, booties, and I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm careless or whatever. And I went there, they're like, hey, just relax. It's okay. You could take off the face mask, and they educated me on the situation. I said, okay, that kind of helped with the apprehension. So I kind of always approach everything like that. I try to learn as much about something so that, I could have the answers for myself, and that way I could have it for, like, let's say my family and whatever. And that makes me feel better that, oh, okay, a third of the population is not going to be infected. It's only going to be a smaller percentage and things like that. Like, so it gives you that self-assurance. Because I generally feel like nervousness and negativity, these are contagious feelings. Unfortunately, positivity isn't as contagious as negativity is. So I try to project, the calmness to my clients and to everybody, just to sort of like have them at ease. I think that just kind of helps the situation. In terms of real estate wise, I'm always looking at like SRAR, CAR, NAR for their stats, and they provide a lot of numbers. And what that does is I could compare it to previous years. So when people ask me questions, I'll actually tell them, because a lot of people give general answers to everything, and it doesn't help much. Like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. I'm having the best year ever. Like, there's nothing tangible with that. But if I tell them, for example, median price went up in LA County by 2%, which it did. It's at like 620 now. And then like the amount of sales are down by 30%. And that's because of, consumer apprehension, or 30 something percent in my head. But these are tangible numbers. You could communicate and people will say, oh, okay. And you give them, your idea as to why things are that way. And it sort of projects the state of mind that, okay, you care, you're trying to, add value to people. And I think if you project that to your clients, the calmness, they'll have that as well. And they'll feel better about, whatever decisions they make.
Yeah. Good points. And it makes sense, by the way, because a lot of people don't see themselves, service providers, as the leaders. And all of you guys out there are leaders. And when you go and, even like, over the phone or when you meet people in person, they're looking at you to seek, for example, some kind of assurance, right? It's just basic psychology. So for sure, as a professional in the industry, when you go and meet people, they're gonna, figure you out for a minute, and what you project, right? So definitely good points. What are you guys experiencing now? And once again, Roger, you kind of like touched on it for a second. You said that, you're not really afraid, like, okay, so this too shall pass, and business will come back again or whatever. But how do you perceive this this shift? Let's phrase it as a shift. This shift different than past shifts, industry or market shifts or interruptions, and how do you adjust, or how did you adjust your business?
Well, one thing I was thinking about yesterday, because, of course, a buyer coming through the listing was telling me how the market's crashing. And I just said to him, I go, you know what? Everybody that I know personally is working and getting paid. Like maybe that's just my circle. And I just know very few people that have been financially impacted by this. They're working at home. So, I think the problem is that people, aren't doing things because maybe they don't want to right now, or they don't have urgency right now, and things like that. But I don't know. I don't see the financial, and maybe it just hasn't hit yet. But I don't see the financial devastation out there like it was in 2008.
Yeah.
That was so different.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, whoever I've asked, the first thing I was concerned about was, my clients and all my sphere, like their occupations, what's their status on that. Not too many people have been impacted. I've noticed more of an impact to like my lease properties, but in terms of purchases, sales, not so much. Everyone I know still has a job and they're still getting paid.
Yeah.
The difference I see is that there was no build up to this. It was sudden, it was devastating, it was fast, it was more like, call to triage, everybody jumping on Zoom, everybody getting to the webinars, everybody listening to what the laws are. I think it really was a call to action this time around. Like Simon's parents and I went through the entire short sale thing together. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a gradual thing. I mean, we knew it was coming, and then it happened, and then it was like, it took a while to kind of organize. I mean, a short sale takes you 7 or 8 months. This was quick and sudden and fast and abrupt. And I feel like it was more like triage work. You had to be ready to go. It was a little bit more devastating, I think. And we don't even know what the impact is going to be for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
But it does feel like there's pent up demand now, right? It feels like it's kind of this perfect storm that, for the many places, right? People stayed at home where there was just less. People didn't necessarily want to be out, and then sellers weren't listing. Well, now it feels like these buyers who have holed up for 2 months mm-hmm. are now out. Interest rates are phenomenal, right? And even over the course of a few weeks, I had a buyer whose buying power just went up $40,000 because the rate on a VA loan just dropped. And, I've written a few offers recently. I've been in multiple offer situations on every single one of them. And yesterday I got a counter, and I was one of 28 offers on this property. And the counter back was so one-sided for the seller that I kind of just advised my clients, like, hey, you got to let it go. Like, you're just, it was just crazy, and we are walking away. So I do feel like what Julie said, like it was super sudden, but I feel like now the return feels equally as sudden back up. I don't know that this will last in the long term, but right now it feels like the market is crazy hot for good properties.
I had not such a good property, and it had 8 offers on it. There is a lot of pent up buyers and such a shortage of sellers.
Yeah, there's almost less sellers now than even before. I mean, inventory was mm-hmm. so low before, and now it's worse.
Yeah. Do you guys have any buyers that are kind of opportunistic, that are like, oh, maybe we could get this for a steal because of COVID? Do you guys get any of those? What do you tell them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did. I wrote a low offer 30 days ago, And, you know, at the time I thought it was reasonable. You know, I kind of did. You know, it wasn't like super low, like on a 780, it was 730. So it wasn't like completely crazy and the house needed a little work, but they didn't get it and it sold. So, you know, you know, they were right not to take it. But at 30 days ago, I thought, you know, why not try to grind them a little bit? But, you know, they didn't go for it. And it sold, so we were wrong.
Anything different that you did the past 2 months to adjust your business? Anything whatsoever that, you know, it's worth mentioning?
You know, I think regardless of the market, I kind of keep my business very similar in terms of the things that I do, right? I make my calls, I do my cards, you know, whatever it is that I need to be doing. I change the tone, right? I think that Julia alluded to that kind of in terms of your calls and even to the postcards that I mailed. I made the messages different. I dropped something that I didn't think was a good expense. So I will say that was a good thing that I looked at it and I thought this is not paying off, and I dropped that. And that was, I had decided that this would be my year of social media, and I had invested in Yelp and it just was not paying the dividend. So I cut that off. But I am trying to just do more on social media because it was never a thing for me. And so I'm playing with command more, right? I'm about to do a single site webpage, and I'm going to go ahead and do the Facebook commands, an ad for this listing, and just trying some new things. And I heard of something neat today that I can drop into the box. And this was, again, in this call this morning that someone is doing. They shared that on Facebook, you know, you see all kinds of messages from everyone, but this person has actually started a group of the people whose messages or posts that he really wants to track. So he puts his past clients in there so that he's making sure that he sees everything that they post versus what all your realtor friends post or anything else, so that he makes sure that he's really commenting on those people in addition to the other things that he's doing, you know, with his calls. So I'm going to copy that and put it in the log so people can see how to make a Facebook group or a Facebook list, so that you make sure that you are really seeing the post of people that you like. Okay. Is that something people would want?
Yeah. This is great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. It's called lists. It's like labeling basically.
Yeah.
It's a great tip. And, you know, it's a good tip because if you use Facebook properly, it's pretty much like a CRM, you know? So if you've been purposeful about using social media versus just to be, oh, I don't use that, I don't, you know, want to, whatever, it pretty much depends how you utilize it, right?
Yeah.
Kendra, you're part of Gary's mastermind group, right? That's been the top producers in the nation.
Yes.
Do you want to share a little bit about that? And you know, so is this something that they shared, or do they have different things that they're using right now as a language besides what you shared earlier?
Yeah, so I will tell you that I always sort of felt in a way like a less than at KW by being a single agent, that, you know, the model is always about building these teams and leverage, and that was just never my way of doing business. And this year they actually sort of started acknowledging those in the company that are single agents. So it's been nice. They I don't know that I'll stay. Like I told you, I don't know I'll make the group next year, but it is based on the top 100 agents in the company nationally, and you had to have made more than 20 million or 500 in GCI to be accepted, and you have to not be a team. And so it's just been really interesting to see what people are sharing. I feel like I've learned a lot, and that's where things like some of these ideas that I just shared came from, and that's where this list is coming from, that someone is actually using it as part of his reach out to his past clients.
Yeah, and what I like about that is that you're, once again, it's back to the point of how do you adjust your business? It can be as simple as learn something, you know, like one little thing on social media and then implement it. And now,
yeah, Yeah, and just a different man was the one who mentioned about the Facebook ads, and that he felt like he was saying spend less and have it last longer because he got almost too many leads that he couldn't filter through. But he was also the one who mentioned that the command ads, and I know many you've been talking about it, had generated very good leads for him. And we talked about mindset this morning, a lot of things that you talk about, Meny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, and to that 3 o'clock, by the way, we're going to have a class about how to generate leads using the command Facebook ads, just because it's working really, really well. Julie, you also on the same group, Top 100. You actually also went to the last event, and met Gary Keller, etc. What was your impression from the call?
I thought it was pretty fascinating. It was a panel of a bunch of agents. I actually took some notes. What was fascinating is that a lot of people are trying to cut costs, eliminate a lot of outside expenses, and they're just trying to dial into command. There was one guy on there that sold 2,700 units last year, and said he didn't hit his mark. And what I thought was fascinating is that they went back to their standards, their plan of action, that they were going to be more prospect enhanced instead of marketing enhanced. And I thought it was fascinating that they were saying they were doing 30, and whoever was on the team got a base pay with a 10% bonus, and they had to make 8 appointments a week. And this was basically off of 35 connects a day, which I thought was like pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it was to be more geared towards lead generating instead of waiting for the marketing to take a hold and calls to come in. That if you want to produce, you need an assistant to take care of assistant stuff. That it was Lance Loken out of Houston.
Oh yeah.
I wish he said how big his team was.
Fascinating, huh?
I wish he had said how big his team was.
He has a big team.
It was pretty large.
The Logan team. It's I think again, if you're gonna go online and just Google search the Logan team. I'm not sure how to spell Logan.
And what he did was, I guess he has a large team. So whoever set the highest standards and goals and hit those marks became the benchmark for everybody to come up. The iMortgage thing. It seems like the process of the Keller Mortgage, our in-house lender, it would be kind of fascinating to find out more details how that works. It seems like there's a lot of benefits to using it, but it's like we don't really know a lot about it. I don't know. I just thought it was pretty amazing. The opportunities platform inside of Command is something that I think is worth investigating in, because you can monitor your contacts in there. Where I guess it's under Cultivate. Cultivate is where you put your interested buyers, sellers. You can mark them into, 12-month segments, 3-month segments, 6-month segments, and it'll generate tasks for you to do.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Julie. And thanks for sharing the link, Kendra. And I did drop the link to the Loken group, the Go By group. And there are 40 people on this group, by the way, if you're gonna go to meet the team. So it's a small office, a small army of people. Interesting, right? But once again, it's capacity. Can one person sell 500 units? No.
Yeah. Well, his whole premise was to control the space you occupy. That's all you could really do through this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to share? Maybe something regarding to, anything you have in mind, but maybe also something regarding if you were able to get new business in a different way. Anybody? I'm gonna pick on you, Roger.
Well, not really any new way, but I did, I have taken this opportunity to really learn. Like I also have been getting into command and, figuring out, all of it has, which it is so incredible. There's so much to learn that it does take this type of time to do it. So that I'm grateful for. But, just reaching out. I mean, I have gotten business. I got a couple leases and, just from talking to people and just checking in. So, that's something I normally do. It's not something new. But I have realized sort of during this time that I need sort of a new leg of business, to generate. So I have felt that maybe my sphere of influence is limited. So I've been, kind of trying to focus in on new ways of generating business. So that's kind of where my head has been at with that.
Yeah. And there's one question over here. You kind of touched it already, Roger. The question is like, how are you guys, whoever is listening, dealing with the new industry guidelines or guidance showing rules? Like, do you find it easy? Do you find it overkill? Do you find it amusing, Julie?
I don't really find it overkill. I think it's about, making the client feel comfortable. So at the end of the day, what we feel about, we could complain about it all we want, but if that's what they require us to do, I just kind of accepted it as like, this is the new way we're going to do things for a while. And, I actually, there's certain clients when I'm showing the property, they're watching everything that I do. And then they saw me once take my glove off to put the key back in the lockbox or whatever. And then I said I didn't want to touch it after touching all the doors. And they were like, oh, okay. They like appreciated that. And that's not something I did on purpose. I just, I try to be hygiene conscious in general. But I think the more you do things, the more you get used to it, the easier it gets. The masks are annoying. I'm not looking forward to the valley heat at all, but that's what we got to do. I have no choice.
Kendra has no idea what you're talking about.
No,
About the heat.
By the beach, all nice and our nights are cold and our days are really hot here. So it's a lot of fluctuation. We don't have the benefit of that coastal weather for sure.
Yeah, they use extra masks in Long Beach just to,
It's actually sprinkling this morning and it's overcast.
Yeah.
The other thing I was, realizing yesterday with this listing and so many people wanting to see it, that I really have to, because I can only do so much in a day, like I have to stretch this out. Normally you could have an open house or some showings and everybody sees it and then you could start hearing offers. And it's like, this is going to take me some time to get through everybody that wants to see this house.
Yeah.
And I've been telling the agents that. Like, hey, this is days. This is not like 3 days. Like, it's days worth of appointments I have set up already.
It's an interesting point because that currently replaced this is the new open house by appointment only, right? So you have to coordinate, you have to be smart, you have to be efficient. You don't want to have a chaos as well. And you also bear the responsibility. Someone mentioned over here in the questions, don't you think it's a seller's responsibility or part of it? Well, yeah, but regardless, we bear the responsibility of, doing the showing and secure the buyer, etc. So it's on us all day long. And it's not even about the responsibility, just to keep everybody safe as long as we don't really know what the impact of this thing is, still is, right?
Do you guys also find that it gives you an opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive with the buyers that call? I feel like, there's a lot more pushback on my behalf. I don't want to go to the property and spend the time wiping it down, setting it up, all the stuff that goes on with the P. If I find out they have an agent, I just want to go crazy on them. Like, I don't even want to waste my time. I'm hanging up the phone, call your agent. Like, I feel like it's an opportunity for us to get real clear.
Yeah.
I had that happen yesterday. This guy calls me and leaves me a message. Oh, I saw the property, so do you have an agent? Oh yeah, I have an agent, but my fiance and I would like to just come, without. I said, well, I'm not doing that. It's like, why would I do your agent's work for you? Call your agent and have your agent call me. I mean, I'm like that anyway, but
Yeah.
It's shocking.
But I feel like it's a little bit, I don't know, like the opportunistic personalities, we are protecting ourselves a little bit better because of our health and safety, which is kind of a nice blessing in this whole process. I mean, it does save us a lot of time and energy.
And it's nice to be able to send a virtual tour prior to the showing too. Like, hey, make sure you want to see it. I mean,
Right.
Instead of like, oh my God, somebody wants to see it. How fast can I get there?
Right.
Yeah.
I say a lot of time.
Here's a great question from Alex Lees, who just recently joined us, Alex, and got a new listing in Agora Hill as well. Congrats, Alex. She's asking, because she had also multiple showings as well, I guess the last week or so. Do you recommend having a buyer's agent send a pre-approval letter to make sure they are a real buyer? That's question number one. And second question, are you allowing agents to come solo and preview the house?
I am allowing agents to come and do FaceTime tours. I find some people still want their agents to go out. I actually appreciate it instead of going back 3 or 4 times. If the agent just goes out there and does a virtual tour with their FaceTime or whatever, and we can, I find that we're screening a lot more of the terms and conditions before we go to paper.
Yeah.
I haven't really been asking for a pre-qualification letter to show the listings. I mean, my hope is that most people in our business, are I could be super naive, but especially like around our office and the agents that are showing, I know a lot of them, and I'm just going to hope that they are doing their job and pre-qualifying.
Yeah, I feel a little differently than Roger. I used to always ask before this, hey, is your client pre-approved? And if they'd say, well, yeah, but not to this amount. I just don't want to waste my client's time. I don't want to waste my time because I follow up on every showing. And if they don't call me back, then I call 2 more times, So now I think I mentioned this. I think I typed it into a chat once before, Meny. You got to have your pre-approval letter. For expensive properties, you got to provide proof of funds. You got to provide the PED, like before I'll even give you the lockbox location and CBS code. I really just don't want to waste anyone's time, and I don't want mine wasted. So you definitely, they got to be, and I ask, are they ready to buy? And in terms of just letting someone called and said she sort of wants to preview, I was like, if your clients are in town, bring them with you, because every time that we disrupt my seller and cleaning and that kind of thing, everyone needs to come if they want to see it, unless they're out of area, which I am in escrow now, where the buyers, I have the listing and the buyers will never see the home, or they'll see it after they removed all their contingencies and their agent did a tour.
Yeah, all valid points. Yeah, and of course you can play it by ear. You can see who's calling you and what the story. And if it's an agent that you've been working with for a long time, and you have good experience with the person, maybe she or he knows what they're doing, so you can kind of like play it by ear or whatever. But if you really have no idea who you're dealing with, so protect your time. It's about mostly that, protect your time. Right?
Meny, I have to tell you, if it's an agent I know, I won't require proof of funds, but I still require pre-approval for everyone. I don't care if I know you or not.
Pre-approval, it's fine. Yeah.
And unless they're cash, then I'd require proof of funds. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and Kendra, that's why you're in the top 100 in the nation, right?
I don't know about that, but
all the reasons. Awesome job. Anything else you guys wanna mention before I'm gonna let you go back to your home office?
I just want to say something, and again, Julie and I heard it today, but Halley asked about what I'd suggest for new agents, but I just think it's critical for all of us, which is to keep doing the things that are important, and whether it's working out or getting up for your calls, but you know, still treat this time, even though there may not be tons and tons of business coming in. If you're still doing all the things that you know in the past have led to business, it will come, right? So, you know, it doesn't mean you can't have a movie day in the middle of the day, but you really need to be working every day, doing whatever it is that helps you build business in the long term.
Yeah, good points. Thank you, guys. Well, I you know, once again, thank you for your time, and thanks for sharing, and keep doing an incredible job. Kendra Miller, Roger Horn, Julie Newman, Simon Celik. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Meny.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.